Welcome to Parental Alienation and Narcissism. This program is to provide awareness, educational topics that will help you heal and navigate through the hardships associated with narcissistic alienation. Please like and subscribe.
Welcome to Video 5. My name is J. Claude McDaniel, author and victim of alienation. I share my experiences, education, and provide valuable information that I hope will help you navigate through your plight. In this 5th episode, I take you through the hidden wounds in children. Years had passed. The custody hearings were over. The court documents sat forgotten in storage boxes. The lawyers had moved on. But for Alex, the story wasn't over. In many ways, it was entering a new chapter. The house was full. Relatives gathered for a family wedding. Laughter echoed through the room. Conversations flowed easily. People embraced and shared memories. And standing across the room was his daughter. The same little girl who once ran into his arms after school. The same child he carried to bed when she fell asleep on the couch. The same little voice that once called him her hero. Now she stood only a few feet away. Yet she felt farther away than ever. There was no argument. No confrontation. No visible anger. Only distance. A polite smile. A brief greeting. And an emotional wall neither of them seemed able to cross. That was the moment Alex understood something many parents learn far too late. Parental alienation doesn't end when childhood ends. The damage begins in childhood. And if left untreated, it follows children into adulthood. Looking back, Alex could now see signs he had once missed. The alienation hadn't only damaged his relationship with his daughter. It had changed how she viewed herself, how she viewed other people, and how she experienced trust. One of the first casualties was trust itself. Children naturally trust the people who raise them. But when a child is repeatedly taught that one parent cannot be trusted, that lesson rarely stays confined to a single relationship. It often spreads. Trust becomes dangerous. Vulnerability becomes risky. And emotional walls become a form of protection. Alex also noticed patterns in her friendships. Sometimes she seemed desperate for acceptance. Other times she withdrew completely. Relationships became intense, then distant, close, then disconnected. It was as though she desperately wanted connection while simultaneously fearing it. Perhaps the deepest wound was one that couldn't easily be seen. Identity confusion. Every child develops a sense of self through both parents. When one parent is systematically erased, criticized, or portrayed as unworthy, the child is left with unanswered questions. Who am I? What parts of me come from each parent? Which memories are real? Which stories should I believe? For many alienated children, those questions don't disappear with age. They grow alongside them. Alex could also see signs of anxiety and sadness. Not always obvious. Not always openly discussed. Sometimes hidden behind sarcasm. Sometimes disguised as frustration. Sometimes buried beneath a carefully crafted image of independence. But the pain was there. And he couldn't help wondering how much of it traced back to the messages she had absorbed during childhood. The effects reached beyond family relationships, school, friendships, mentors, authority figures. Many alienated children grow up viewing relationships through a lens of suspicion. Love becomes conditional. Trust becomes temporary. Connection feels unsafe. And the most tragic part is that many don't even realize why. The wounds become normal. The confusion becomes familiar. The damage becomes part of everyday life. As Alex reflected on what had happened, he came to a painful realization. The greatest danger of parental alienation isn't always what happens during childhood. It's what those childhood wounds become later. Because childhood doesn't stay in childhood. It grows up. And in the next part of this story, we'll explore how alienation follows children into adulthood, affecting their relationships, self-esteem, identity, and ability to trust long after the custody battles have ended. When childhood wounds grow up. As Alex's daughter entered adulthood, he hoped time would heal old wounds. Instead, he discovered something heartbreaking. Childhood alienation doesn't simply disappear. It evolves. The forms change. The injuries remain. Many adult children who experience parental alienation struggle in ways they don't fully understand. Some push away healthy relationships because genuine love feels unfamiliar. Others find themselves attracted to controlling or unhealthy partners because those dynamics feel strangely normal. The patterns learned in childhood often reappear in adulthood, not because they choose them, but because those patterns feel familiar. Many also struggle with self-worth. They question their value, their decisions, their abilities, even their successes. Some sabotage opportunities before someone else can take them away. Others live with a constant feeling that they are somehow not enough. Then comes something many alienated adult children quietly carry for years. Guilt. A deep and confusing guilt. Over time, some begin questioning the narrative they were taught. Memories resurface. Questions emerge. Doubts appear. And with those doubts comes a terrifying possibility. What if the story wasn't true? What if the parent they rejected wasn't the villain they were told to believe? For many adult children, that realization creates enormous emotional conflict. Because accepting the truth means confronting years of lost time. Years of missed birthdays. Missed conversations. Missed opportunities for love and connection. Alex once came across a story that haunted him. It was written by an adult child who finally uncovered the truth at 28 years old. After years of believing one parent was the enemy, after years of carrying anger that had never truly belonged to them, the writer described wanting desperately to reconnect, to apologize, to rebuild the relationship, to recover what had been lost. But when they finally found the courage to reach out, they learned something devastating. Their father had already passed away. There would be no reunion, no conversation, no second chance, only questions that would never be answered, only years that could never be recovered, and a lifetime of regret. Alex never forgot that story, because it captured one of the cruelest realities of parental alienation. Sometimes the truth arrives, but it arrives too late. Yet despite everything, this story is not about hopelessness. It is about healing. Healing begins when manipulation is recognized. When people understand how their childhood shaped their beliefs. When they learn to trust themselves again. When they rebuild an identity based on truth instead of distortion. Healing happens when people choose freedom over fear. Growth over resentment. Clarity over confusion. Alex knew he could never recover the years that had been lost. He couldn't rewrite birthdays. He couldn't reclaim holidays. He couldn't restore every missed opportunity. But he could leave the door open. He could continue healing himself. He could choose not to become consumed by bitterness. And if one day his daughter came searching for answers, he wanted her to find something waiting. Not anger. Not judgment. Not a list of grievances. But truth, compassion, and unconditional love. Because parental alienation is not merely a childhood tragedy. It is the theft of future relationships. The theft of trust. The theft of emotional safety. And sometimes the theft of decades. But knowledge changes things. Understanding changes things. Awareness creates possibilities that confusion never could. For the parents still fighting. For the children still struggling. And for the family still hoping. Healing is possible. The road may be long. The scars may remain. But parental alienation does not have to write the final chapter. Because a lie can be unlearned. A relationship can be rebuilt. And a wound, even one carried for years, can begin to heal. In the next chapter of this story, we'll dissect alienation by the abusing parent and healing. This ends part 5 of my narration. Part 6 will be speaking to the alienation by the abusing parent. Thank you for reviewing my site and listening to part 5. Please like, subscribe, and comment. It helps this valuable site to grow and spread sound educational information. Sincerely, J. Claude McDaniel.